Hey there, my name is David Rogers, and I want to welcome you to the Nashville Jazz Workshop's Artist Spotlight, where every month I get the chance to sit down with a handful of artists with upcoming performances at the legendary Jazz Cave in Nashville, Tennessee. We get to dive into a bit of jazz history while also learning about each artist's process of preparing for their upcoming show. This week, I got the chance to sit down with keyboardist and composer Kevin Gastonguay ahead of his April 19th show at the Nashville Jazz Workshop. We chatted about his recent move from Minneapolis to Nashville, some of his musical inspirations, and got some insight into how he's preparing for his upcoming piano trio show. I hope you enjoy. A pleasure to have you here, man. Thanks so much. You're in Nashville now. Recently transplanted from Minnesota. Minneapolis. Yeah. So what's that been like for you?
It's been really cool. I've basically lived my entire adult life in Minneapolis or around the surrounding area.
Okay.
And kind of getting indoctrinated into the Minneapolis scene and all the sound. So I've never really made a big move like this.
Yeah.
And so that's been just really cool and interesting. I always feel like I could have moved to New York when I was young, but I would probably never do that now just because I have so much stuff.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
You know? It's like, I'm a bit older now, and I just wouldn't be so easy. I have things that keyboards mainly.
Yeah. When I heard the news that you were moving here, I was like, yes.
Yeah.
I'm always in favor of like just bring all the keyboard players.
Which is wild, because
Yeah.
I feel like in maybe some places, they're like, stay,
Oh, no,
maybe
not at
protective
all.
or something.
No,
I don't know,
not at
but
all.
the people here have been so encouraging and
Yeah.
cool, and the community is so obvious.
Sure.
Coming from the outside. I mean, there's a great, I love the Minneapolis scene and everything.
Yeah.
Almost to a point where I'm like, it's a little, almost too comfortable. I was like looking around, I'm like, man, this is so, I could easily live here the rest of my life. Maybe I should leave,
Okay.
Just kind of make it hard again, or just, get some challenges, or just get some new perspectives and stuff. So
Yeah. What are some of those new challenges or perspectives that you've seen or you're hoping for here in Nashville?
Well, just being around, different people, learning different tunes. A lot of it was, Nashville is a big, obviously recording industry.
Yeah.
And getting more into there, get into the recording stuff. I've talked to a lot of different keyboardists, and I feel like the recording game is just awesome.
Yeah.
And
Oh,
there's just a higher caliber of that around here. And so, I want to be in it and kind of be where it's happening, I guess.
Totally.
And just being inspired by other people around me and going out to see bands almost every night. There's like something happening, like good stuff happening almost every night.
Yeah.
So, I have a very fresh, I haven't been here long, but so far this has been how I've been feeling.
Yeah, that's so good to hear, and I think that's a lot of people's experience too.
Yeah.
Speaking of live music and good live music,
Yeah.
you're going to be part of that, right? April 19th, Nashville Jazz Workshop. Man, I'm so excited that you are up for doing your own original music.
Oh,
because I've been checking it out for years, and
Thank you.
and I've always admired your playing and
Thank you.
your sensibilities, and everything's just so tasteful.
Thank you.
And you're such a great listener. So, what can we expect? You're bringing a trio with
I'm bringing up
drums and
Petar
bass?
Janjic
Okay.
on drums, which is he plays with me with Corey, and
Right.
he's been a guy I've been playing with for years and years in Minneapolis. I feel like we kind of grew up together in the scene.
Okay.
And he moved to Nashville, about 4 years ago. So
Right.
he was one of the guys kicking me to come here. But and then Ken Perkerwicz on bass,
Right.
who's actually a Minnesota native, and I didn't
No kidding.
I didn't even know that. I hit you up when you hit me up to do this.
Yeah.
I got some recommendations. I hit a couple other people, got a bunch of recommendations, and I just like kind of put my finger, closed my eyes and picked Ken, and then he said he could do it, and it's like everyone's like, oh, he's from Minneapolis. I'm like, what?
It was meant to be.
Yeah, I had no idea. So, I hadn't even met him, but we actually did a gig last week together with Jake Botts,
Oh, awesome.
and it was awesome. So it was cool.
Oh, that's great, man.
But bringing a trio. You asked me to do this, and you said it could be a grand piano there, a great grand piano,
Yeah.
Grace Steinway. I have a lot of different kinds of music.
Right, I was going to ask about that.
Stuff that's more electric, more keyboard, synth, and old like whirly and all this, the whole keyboard spectrum, music that involves that stuff. And but you said it would be a great piano, so I decided I'm gonna just bring piano stuff.
Awesome. Okay.
So I could bring some stuff, but I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna play piano. So I built the set list all around my piano tunes.
Okay.
I might do some solo piano as well.
Great.
I have some melancholy piano tunes that I've written, and so I'm really pumped to play with those guys, and do this show.
In kind of the Kevin Gastonguay Venn diagram of influences, like what are some of those? Like, there's obviously some jazz, there's funk, fusion, classical maybe.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah.
I didn't grow up playing a lot of classical, and I'm not too versed in the genre, but like Satie and like there was a guy named Stefano Bellani.
Okay.
Who is Italian pianist. I got a solo record when I was like 18, and I feel like that record, his playing on some of the stuff just really influenced me a lot. Mainly just searching ways to explore harmony with like 2, 3, 4 voices.
I definitely hear that. The voice leading is super intentional.
Just some fun stuff. But definitely I love the melancholy stuff, and having it have twists and turns that you're not quite expecting. So I have a lot of music that's kind of in that realm. But then I have a lot of music that is more on the. People always say like a lot of your stuff sounds very like thematic,
Yeah.
And you take Henry Mancini. He's got like Days and Wine and Roses.
Yeah.
Great, beautiful tune. But he also has the Baby Elephant Walk.
Yeah.
And like all these, and like Pink Panther, and all these like really cool themes that are really creative, I guess, pop music, you know, of the time. I mean, it speaks to the people, and it's really cool written melodies, and I love that stuff. And so I guess he's been a huge influence. Yeah. But just where he writes very incredible, beautiful, simple melodies, and then also quirky and fun melodies. And I really like that style too. And I feel like my music that I'm going to be playing this week, I'll be playing some more classical, kind of some nice pretty stuff, but some very kind of weird and quirky stuff too. Yeah. Just fun.
One of the things as a musician and composer that I'm always interested most in talking to other musicians and composers is like how they conceive of compositions structurally.
Yes.
Especially any sort of jazz or jazz adjacent influence, anything that incorporates improvisation. Yep. I mean, the classic solos, which is essentially theme and variations. Right. Has that affected your compositions at all? Or how do you think about, when you're writing, do you think specifically about any sort of structures in how you create your music?
Yeah. I'm thinking about the audience a lot. I guess it's kind of a difference between thinking about the recorded song versus how I'm going to do it live. Often I'm writing in the sense of how it's going to be recorded. Right. And then I go later on, I'm thinking about, all right, well, how can we stretch things a bit? You know? And that's kind of what I'm thinking about right now for this show.
Gotcha.
But a lot of these songs, they're a head tune, and then it opens up a little bit, and then take it out. I mean, pretty simplistic. Yeah. I'll tell you what, a lot of this stuff I wrote for the fact that you could play it without much rehearsal.
Nice.
Okay. So I've written stuff over the years that is very complicated and heady and like difficult. Sure. I don't feel like any of the stuff is very difficult. Gotcha. I have like a tune in like 15, I guess. So that's a little bit. But I think it's still, it's got that pulse, that one. It's a slow 15. So it's kind of one, or 4, 4, 4, 3 or whatever. Yeah. But I want to have tunes. All these tunes that I'm playing, they're all like, I could give someone a chart and we could play it down and probably do it pretty well. Yeah. Which is nice. And I'm thinking about other people's time and stuff too. I'm not pulling out the ones that are going to be.
Right. Get your TI-84 calculator out there.
Yeah. Reward, risk versus reward kind of thing.
Interesting.
Definitely, stuff that feels good. Yeah. Fun to listen to. Some twists and turns, some quirk, and then some beautiful stuff too. You know? And that's all I'm thinking about the whole show too. I'm trying to capture different ideas and emotions, and, not have too much of one thing.
Yeah. Take us on a journey.
So I have to dig in. I mean, when I was thinking about this set list, I had to dig in a little bit and think, okay, well, these. Sometimes you write 3 tunes, but they're all kind of like the same tune. Yeah. It's just like rewriting. It's like, all right, maybe I'll do this one, and not the other two.
Gotcha.
Whatever, So I'm trying to think about that a bit. You know, but also I'm trying to leave, like we're talking about song form, and for the live thing, I'm trying to feature the band and there's going to be a lot of there's going to be a fair amount of drum solos and bass solos and allow things to happen, because I do love live music, and I love moments in time and having stuff that happens naturally. And I hope the music is written in a way that feels naturally, so that when someone does take the mantle or whatever, it feels good.
You mentioned Henry Mancini, which
Yes.
I think that's a great name to pull out of the hat. I haven't thought about Henry, but he was one of the first CDs that I had too, and I know
nice.
all of those. It was like an orange CD, 2 discs,
Yeah.
and it had all those
the
tunes
hits?
that you just named.
Oh, man.
Are there other influences that you feel are like primary influence, either compositionally or with regards to your playing style?
Yeah.
Is Minnesota or Minneapolis? I mean, there's such a history of
So
music history there
yes.
as well.
Growing up in that area, and especially all throughout my 20s and late teens, being around all the Prince alumni and the time. And I mean, Minnesota is a place where people mainly are from. There's not a lot of transplants.
Okay.
So like all these people that were involved in that whole 90s, early 2000s or whatever, explosion of pop music is all there, and they're in town, and you'll see them on gigs, and you'll be on gigs with them, and a lot of us got schooled by all those people. I'm mainly talking about like pop and funk, and it's definitely in my playing, and in a lot of, but not as visible in what I'm gonna do. That's it's influenced me a lot to a great degree, and especially what I do now with Corey and that whole lineage.
Sure.
This is more thoughtful jazz, I guess. So I wouldn't say as much of that, but it's definitely a huge part of my playing, whether I even know it or not. You know what I mean? It's like
right. You can't help but sound.
I feel like my keyboard playing has been synth and clav, and all that stuff is very much influenced by the feel and of the Minneapolis, the grid, and kind of the on the one tight funk. So I would like to bring some of that music, sometime, to wherever venue,
Sure.
In Nashville, I guess.
Because this is your first time playing. Like an entire set of just all original music in Nashville, right? Since you moved here.
Exactly.
Talk for a second, because you mentioned clav and synths, and you play B3 so well as well, and obviously piano, right? Like there's a whole myriad of keyboard instruments that you sound great on. So how did you over time learn? Because they're very distinct voices, right?
Yes.
I mean, we all know that piano and B3, one does not necessarily translate to the other. And especially the first time I sat down at a B3, I learned that the hard way.
Me too.
So I feel like every organ player to some degree has that kind of story if they didn't start on the organ. So what was that process like, learning all these different keyboard instruments? And you've got people should check you out on Instagram. You have pictures of your home studio with all the different keyboard instruments.
It's a lot of years of collecting keyboards, and I feel like once I got to start playing in bands when I was around 18, 19, I discovered piano just wasn't going to cut it for a lot of kind of music I was getting hired for or music I wanted to play. I'm playing with a lot of bands with guitars and they're loud. And I'm like, all right, I got into a lot of the 70s fusion, the Chick Corea, the Weather Report, the My Vishnu, and Return to Forever, and loved that stuff. Got into Rhodes and all that stuff. It kept coming back to organ being so versatile in so many different genres and so many different gigs, and trying to compete with volume on stage and stuff like that, And I slowly started buying organ gear. I think first thing I had like an organ drawbar module, a Roland VK8M. It was like one of those modules. But over time, I ended up getting closer and closer to having the real thing. It was like a module, then a Hammond XK1, then I got like some kind of off-brand Leslie, and then a real Leslie, and then I pieced it together. But that's kind of what led me to all the other keyboards.
Gotcha.
I guess just playing in bands and just wanting to have a sound. I got really influenced by Medeski, John Medeski. Yeah. Seeing him play 4 to 10 keyboards, all plugged into separate amps and stuff, and getting really into tones, and seeing how the keyboard could be so much more than just piano, and just it can be really funky and cool tones. And I got really inspired by all that stuff. Yeah. Again, it came from being functional as a working musician, and finding that when I played on these things, I played better and it sounded better. And I feel like when I'd bring an organ or bring a Leslie, the band also liked it. You know,
Yeah,
they're like,
yeah.
"Oh, it sounds so good." I'm like, I know, you know, like, and I feel better too. I play better, and like all that stuff. So it's just searching for the tone. I mean, you look at all my heroes, and they all have all that gear on stage, and I was thinking like, oh, someday it'd be great to have all that stuff. Like maybe if I was on a gig, I'd have all that, and I'm just like, I'm just gonna go get it, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, it took a long time, but you know, and it's still a work in progress.
With regards to your upcoming show, is there anything in particular that you're like, oh, I'm absolutely looking forward to?
Yeah.
To this moment.
Oh.
I mean,
Yeah,
the whole thing,
I mean,
as specific as you want to be.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, there's a few of these tunes I haven't even played before, and we're going to rehearse this week, so I'm really pumped to hear those.
Yeah,
you know? I'm really pumped to play on that piano. Yeah. You're talking it up.
I'm talking it up, man. It will not disappoint you.
Yeah, I'm really psyched.
So April 19th, 7:30, Nashville Jazz Workshop.
Yes.
Kevin Gastonguay,
yes.
Ken Perkerwicz on bass, and
Petar Janjic
on drums. All right, man. Looking forward to it.
Thank you.
See you then.
Awesome.